Hello everybody, welcome to another video from Gun Gamers. I'm Eric.
I'm Lutz.
And today we're going to talk about a little bit of a game design and fieldcraft philosophy type of thing. And I think it comes down to answering a question we get asked a lot. Why we don't do permanent respawns at Gun Gamers Productions. I mean, to summarize that as quickly as possible, it's because I think permanent respawns from a game design standpoint can contribute to the game feeling largely the same throughout the day.
Sure, I would agree. Just to give you the perspectives here also, we both have helped with game design.
Yeah.
Eric more so over the years. My role is usually, you're just gonna have to cut to fix it, sorry.
Okay.
So from perspectives, Eric always looks at it, I feel like from a very
Systematic game design.
set up white cell admin/admin kind of thing, right? Where mine is faction lead to platoon lead. Mm-hmm. How do we keep the game moving? I know if you've watched any of our videos on any of the leadership or anything, you'll know that the way I view it is not as how do we tactically take out the enemy. That's a consideration, but it's more about how do we keep the game flowing? Mm-hmm. How do we keep things moving? So from my perspective on it, having fixed respawns just leads to more players that want to opt out for a period of time. They're going to go back to that fixed respawn knowing it's always safe. Be like, I'm going to take 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes becomes 30 minutes, becomes I'm putting my gear on, which is 20 more minutes. 50 minutes have gone by, and where is that squad? Like, that's what I run into, and that causes a lot of strife for leadership. So that's one of the reasons I can't stand it. That and having one safe spot means that those mobile spawns, even if they happen, get used so much less, and people care so much less about keeping them safe because, well, I can just fall back.
Yeah.
And then, it's just there's no threat to it. There's no
and that's the other thing. And that's the other thing I was going to mention is I like impermanent, unsafe respawns. Like we designed our spawn system for context. If you don't know. Our spawn system is designed where every spawn in play in the field has a clay pigeon on it that can be shot out. And we actually just bought like tripods for those. So those will be up like in the air,
way
5 or 6 feet.
To make it more reasonable.
And the goal behind that is that you have to actually pick, hey, we're going to pick our staging area for this movement. This will be our CP. This will be where we put our respawn. But then we have to consider, where are we putting it? Can we keep a rotation of security on it? So people can still get a break if they want to hold security on it, but then it becomes an active rest as opposed to, oh, I'm just going to take all my stuff off and drink water and take my iPro off. We wanted to have it where even taking a rest rotation feels like you're still in the game. And that's really what I look at it as, is I want every part of the game to be in the game. Mm-hmm. And it gives that consequence and that weight to, oh, we didn't secure our respawn. Now we've got to, either fall back in with another platoon so that we can try to re-up and figure out another plan. Or if all of our temporary respawns get rolled, we're going to have to, as a faction, reinsert into the AO and lose all ground.
Yes. Yeah, that's important to say. There's never a time where we're going to be like, oh, you ran out of respawns. Well,
game over.
Oh, well, wait until the rest of these squads. We'll make another one, but there's going to be consequences. And a big consequence of that airsofters hate is walking. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to find a new spot, and you're going to have to set all up. And that's going to take time and effort and energy, and that sucks.
It also raises the challenge level of the game, which is something that I'm very interested in trying to do, is make the games more uniquely challenging. Because a lot of a lot of games don't have that much consequence for if you don't hold security and you get rolled. I mean, but that's, where I look at it, and I'm thinking of also trying to raise the challenge level of the game. Yeah. And I like having that option where Gun Gamers Productions can be uniquely challenging in that way of, hey, there's real practical in-game consequences for if you don't hold security on a CP, where not only is it that you lose that respawn, but if you lose all your respawns, the enemy just gains total advantage of the field until you figure out a plan and reinsert. And
now,
you'll probably
you gotta push, and it's gonna be a whole lot of effort.
Yeah.
You gotta start a whole new plan from scratch at that point. Like we do op boards and all that, but at that point, that's all out the window, and now you gotta start all over. And you better hope you got Jim as your command, because I ain't gonna do it. I suck. But no, I think that's actually something people weren't 100% ready for at Overture. Mm-hmm. Some were. Those coming from, it depended on the background you were coming from, right? Some people got there and were like, hey, I need 20% watch, 25% watch, whatever. I tell my PLs, they'd pass it on, and their squads are like, why? Aren't we taking a break? And the lesson really struck home when a dude just got zipped in the chest while like eating a granola bar. We're like sitting there, and I'm like, they're like, no, we've got watch. And I hear like a few rounds go off, and then medic. I'm like, is anyone watching that one? Is anyone watching? They're like, oh god, and then everyone's like, oh, we gotta get guns. Holy shit! I'm like, that's what I was talking about.
Well, and
be more mobile.
And that's the other thing too, is I think it goes to speak to the type of event that we're trying to run. Is we want to run games that are more mobile, where the AO feels like it changes a lot more throughout the day. We are, trying to have it where each phase is roughly going to feel different, because you're approaching different areas from different angles, and you're going to be moving your spawns throughout the day, and it's not going to just feel like the same 2 spawns for 12 hours continuously, because from a game design standpoint, I find that becomes samey very quickly, and I don't want to do that. I want to try to challenge not just our players, but also us to achieve a different style of event that's a little bit more, I think it's a little more immersive when it feels like you're moving. And I also like the challenge aspect of having a patrol setup that can sustain you for 12 hours. Because we provide water refills and ammo. Mm-hmm. So realistically, all you need to have on you is your starting allotment of water, your magazines that you're going to put your ammo into, some snacks, some extra batteries, and layers if you need them. Yeah. And other than that, you don't need that much. So I like the aspect of trying to push people to condense their kit and be like, hey, you don't need a fob bag, you can keep it on you. Or if you do need a fob bag or want a fob bag, it's just an assault pack that you can drop and then pick back up.
You gotta also remember that this is Gun Gamers Productions, and if Gun Gamers is known for one thing, I would hope it be that self-punishment. We do like to go for hikes, carrying packs, just like Eric's like, hey, it's a Saturday and it's nice out, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna be like, go to a brewery, and he's like, you want to climb Mount Marcy, and you're like, all right, we had one day, everyone's like, hey, let's go for a hike. And that hike turned into, hey, let's do carry the boats for keg. And then it was 12 miles and 4 hours of my day. Yeah. And that's not what I was...
With 40-pound packs.
Yeah, that's Gun Gamers. And so, if you think that our ideology is anything less than, you should just carry your kit on you, you're wrong. Just carry it with you. Figure out a way to make it as light and functional as possible, but you should carry that on you.
Yeah, and I think that really is what we're going for in terms of everything. Obviously, we're saying this it's a hard and fast truth for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's not. There's an infinite number of ways to play Airsoft has become my favorite quote lately. Mm-hmm. And the way I think is interesting to play Airsoft might not be the way that everyone in the audience thinks is interesting, but I do like the extra challenge of knowing that, hey, if I screw up, I'm going to have to move everything and be mobile and be ready to rearm and reinsert and figure out a new plan. And I think that's the type of game I'm interested in playing, and maybe that sounds insane to those of you watching, but that's why, in a nutshell, I personally think that temporary, fragile respawns are cool.
Also, that's kind of like where we've settled on what we enjoy as a group the most, right? Which is kind of why that's where we're at. But I want to be clear that, like, the group of gun gamers, one, I can't give you a number, but it's like several people. 20 plus, 30 plus.
So, I don't know. Platoon size
But of that group, like, we play a variety of types of games, and people's tastes and the flavors of games, like, wide, right? Anywhere from the LARPiest of LARP game, sometimes me, always you, down to, like, the most try-hard of milsim, then over to this other dimension of, like, bordering on, like, Speedsoft, like, so chill sim, right? And it's just all over the place. So, like, I don't think anyone in this group is ever like, oh, God, I hate on that style. But that's definitely not, there's definitely styles that is not what GGP is running.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, you know, really to get down to brass tacks, also part of it is if we ran our games the same way that everyone else runs games, that wouldn't be very interesting.
White noise, buddy.
Yeah, because then it's just like, okay, cool, we're running these games the way that all these other people run games, and I don't want to do that long term. I really want to have the aspect of our own ecosystem, of our own game design philosophy that people come to know, and that's why I think I push back a little bit when people say things like, oh, I really wish you guys had a permanent respawn, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not really the type of game we're interested in running, and if that makes it where it's not the type of game you want to come play, I don't hate you for that. I understand.
Also, another thought, just pointing out permanent respawns, it's really hard to do any kind of, like, massive flanking maneuver on a team if you know where their permanent respawn is and that you can't push it any harder.
And that's the thing, too.
You can't loop way around, like, yeah, it's just...
Well, with permanent spawns, you essentially lock off the areas of the field where those spawns are.
Yep.
And not just those actual respawns, but realistically, you're making it where any maneuvering within like 150 to 200 feet or even yards of some of those areas is just not really possible without totally giving away your position or running into an enemy force of the size that you can't realistically overcome it.
Cough, cough, bad blood. Yeah, we accidentally rolled up, like, the last one we went to, we accidentally rolled up on...
Well, and it's all the more problem when you have, at Bad Blood, there's 8 respawns in play, plus the temporary respawns.
It's the best. Yeah, no, we accidentally rolled up on one. Like, we didn't even see the easy up because, like, trees were half on it. But we were like we did the courteous thing. We're like, oh, we're sorry, we'll fall back. We'll put like, our only options were go into their permanent respawn, which you can't do because we're not piles of garbage, or you got to go back through the 300 guys over here. And I mean 300 because it's insane how many people are in that game.
There's 1,000 people playing it.
So, like, what's your options? There's no good options. So it's just sit there and get schwacked for like 20 minutes. Which, like, I don't love that dynamic. I'd love to be able to just push through this and we'll loop it around. Like,
and that's the thing is I talk a lot about, you know, freedom of movement on airsoft fields, and one of the things that I don't like are game mechanics that make movement a punishable activity. I like it when you have more freedom of movement because you know that, hey, all of this is playable and I'm not going to get too close to somebody's respawn. Now it's not, oh, well, we can't go to this area because their respawn is there. Now it's, hey, maybe we can go to this area, but they might have a CP there. And if they do have a CP, can we muster a force to overtake it, or are we better off to avoid it? But neither of those ideas is, oh, well, we just can't go there.
So I don't want my concern going towards the CP to be, oh, I don't want to have other players get pissed off because I'm too close to it. I want it to be, oh God, could it be that there's an overwhelming force there if I push it? That should be my concern, not a metagame, oh, I don't want people to be mad. I want it to be, oh man, I don't know if I can take this. Like, that's more immersive. And I know it's cringy to be immersive, but let's be immersive. It's way more fun.
I mean, I've been very open about the fact that a lot of my inspiration for the way we design GGP is from my like newfound love of tabletop gaming. And guess what? When you play Dungeons and Dragons, doesn't matter what level your character is, if they die, they die.
It's true.
Like, you know, obviously D&D has death saves and all that other BS, but like, you know, you get death saves too. You have other respawns in play. So if you fail all your death saves because none of your respawns were holding security, your force is dead and you reinsert as a new force. By the way, we will be writing factions out of the GGP universe if they lose too hard. So keep that in mind as you play.
Yeah, winning and losing doesn't matter, but it's also funny because I know there's a lot of companies out there. We were talking about this, like a week or so ago?
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that have, like, these 2 factions or these 3 factions, and everyone's like, die hard for this one. We're like, if this team keeps losing, I'm just going to write them off the books, new faction.
Yeah.
So don't fall too far in love, at least not with the loser. They might be gone next year. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I like having those stakes to gameplay, which is why I like issued ammo. I like when ammo has stakes, that every shot you take counts.
Issued ammo is the only way to play Airsoft. I will go to casual games, and they're fun. They're fine on their own, but issued ammo just gives such a better vibe for me. You don't get those guys that just sit on a corner for literally 20 minutes shooting because they just don't have the ammo for it. It's great.
Yeah, and you know, obviously there are a lot of airsofters who prefer that other gameplay loop of being able to load up on as much ammo as you want and just dump ammo and shoot as much as possible. Because guess what? Sometimes that's fun. I like it too. I bring a machine gun to open plays. I'm a douche.
I've shown up to Bad Blood a lot, so like I can't completely judge. That's fair.
Yeah, but I do think it's also really cool and interesting to have the alternate dynamic.
Sure.
So I guess that's at the end of this whole thing. I guess that's what it comes down to is I like having alternate dynamics that increase stakes. Because then it feels more immersive and it feels more substantive and it opens up new systems that then you can do interesting things with.
Also, we want you to be like physically tired. Go on Facebook or whatever social media and be like, Gun Gamers made me run and it was heavy and I hated it. I want to hear that and I love it. It gives me life. Like literally, I've told Eric, I don't know, I've been to like 12 Milsim West, right? So like that's the other long form I do. My favorite thing is that I am not what anyone would call an in-shape person, but it gives me life to see people with these sweet try-hard kits who are like, I couldn't make it. And I'm like, ha ha! Tell me how hard it was. Love it. Please.
Yeah, it's great. So, challenging games. Yay. We like
Love
those.
challenging games.
And I think that pretty much summarizes our thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So, you know, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Obviously, as we said during this whole video, because there's an infinite number of ways to play Airsoft, there's probably going to be an infinite number of opinions. So, let us know your thoughts down below. Do you like permanent respawns, or do you like our idea of having respawns be part of the stakes of the game? Do you think there's a middle ground? Do you think there's all kinds of other ideas? Do you have a new spin on a mechanic that maybe you want to try in your own games? And by the way, you can run your own games. That's the secret, is it's not that hard. So if you have any of those thoughts, be sure to leave them down in the comments. Agree, disagree, or whatever in between. So once again, I've been Eric.
I've been Lutz.
And thank you very much for watching. Peace.